This one is mine. My rifle is my best friend. It is my life. I must master it as I must master my life. Without me, my rifle is useless. Without my rifle, I am useless.
Hello, 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 my fellow Game Warriors, and members, and viewers, and subscribers, and all of you. I'm from Multinade TV. Right now, as you can see from the title of this video, as well as from the little video clip / introduction right there, this commentary is not going to be one of those normal Call of Duty commentaries, and instead I am going to go a little bit deeper into the real world, unlike what a lot of people seem to do, and talk about a really important subject for this Final Thought Friday, a series on my channel in which I'm really trying to dive down into deep topics and give a full comprehensive review over my thoughts of those topics over some Call of Duty gameplay, as well as some other video clips here thrown in throughout. So this topic, as you guys can tell, and as I said, is gun control. And gun control has really been in the media lately, in the news. As you all know, in recent days, weeks, months even, ever since the Aurora shooting in Colorado at the Batman premiere. For those of you who don't know, don't remember, you should know unless you live underneath a rock. The Aurora shooting was when Jeffrey Dahmer walked into a crowded movie theater for the midnight release of Batman: The Dark Knight Rises and shot into the crowd of moviegoers. Since then, there have been other gun-related attacks and violence, and most recently, that's really in the forefront of everybody's mind, is these school shootings in Newtown, Connecticut, where many children and teachers lost their lives at the hand of a gunman. That it's just horrible circumstances. The kids just had so much to do. They had so many birthdays, so many weddings they could have attended until that madman came into that school and took their lives. And it's a sad occurrence. You know, every time somebody loses their life that is innocent, if you don't deserve it and you lose your life, it is a sad occurrence. But with the violence of the guns in play, many politicians, citizens, public citizens, and celebrities have really vied and called out for more gun control, for gun restrictions, for more guns to be taken away from people. And right now, more than ever, politicians really want to take people's guns away from them. And I believe most people, including myself, and even members of the NRA, even my friends that have a lot of guns, and when I mean a lot of guns, they own the light machine guns from the World War. They own a Thompson. They own a Browning. They own a replica MG42. Then they own the modern guns. Pretty much every Winchester rifle they have a complete set of, it seems. I think like 50, 60 handguns. I have a friend that is a real gun freak, and he even agrees for gun control restrictions. That is something that's definitely, you know, people would like. But that is not where the politicians are stopping. You know, if that was it, I would be all for it. The NRA would be almost for it. But the big thing about gun control recently that has YouTubers up in the uproar, as well as the media and Hollywood, is that politicians and people with a voice to speak about gun control aren't just blaming the madmen that get control of a gun. They aren't blaming the gun control laws themselves. And instead, they're speaking out on something which I believe anyone watching this video feels personal about, and that is they are blaming the violence from guns on video games, TV, and the movies.
It seems today that all you see is violence in movies and sex on TV.
But where are those good old-fashioned values on which we used to rely?
But to be honest, guys, these video games that they are putting down right now, such as Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty, in games of this type, are not much different than things they've had in the past, in their own lifetimes. The whole idea that the newfound media is really portraying people to really turning them into violent criminals is just absurd. Ever since TV was around, I know at least ever since movies have been around, violence has been a big part of the movie industry. Whether you were being the good guy or the bad guy in the movies is irrelevant. Violence was always a key. The Lone Ranger was one of the most popular TV shows there was. Other movies such as that, Cowboys and Indians fighting all the time. Violence, violence, violence with that. Dragnet was a popular radio show, was about police catching criminals that were doing violent crimes and violent acts. And the whole thought that today's media is portraying people as evil, so people are going to want to be evil, is just dumb. To be honest right now, guys, I feel sorry for the people that died in Aurora. I regret it. I feel sorry for the families. I hope that they can get through this as much as possible. But TV shows, video games are not to blame. When people, the Congress that are in session now, when their sons and daughters played Frogger or played Mario, they weren't thinking it was going to get into violence. Now, their whole thing is that Call of Duty is realistic. You are not a frog running through a street. You're not Mario jumping on turtles. You are a person shooting another person. But to me, when I play Call of Duty, I don't believe I am playing against other real-life people. I believe I'm shooting at targets. If this game was set up exactly the same, but with paintballs, I would have just as much fun with it. If you shot them with a paintball, they disappeared, I would have just as much fun with it if it was real bullets. It wouldn't be violent then, but I would still have fun. I'm not shooting to kill people. I'm shooting to take down a target. And I believe that's how most people that play violent video games feel. When they're going into Grand Theft Auto and they rip a guy from the car to steal his car, they're not going to do it in real life. Just because you play a video game, such as Grand Theft Auto, and you're stealing cars, doesn't mean you are going to do it in the real world. When you watch a TV show or a movie in which an action star is running around shooting people, threatening somebody with a .44 Magnum held to his face, just because you are watching it does not mean that you are going to emulate it.
I know what you're thinking. Did he fire 6 shots or only 5? Well, to tell you the truth, in all this excitement, I've kind of lost track myself. But Ian, this is a .44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world, and would blow your head clean off. You've got to ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
That line from Clint Eastwood there is one of my favorite lines in one of my more favorite movies. On your screen right now are various clips from action movies being shown on your screen as well. All of these movies are action. They're violent. People die. People get shot. There's fighting. But these movies do not cause people to be violent. The video games, such as Call of Duty, that you have saw me play throughout this game, don't cause people to be violent. They might, at most, they cause a rush of endorphins. They cause a rush of adrenaline to somebody watching the movie. That is all it does. Movies are not to blame. TVs aren't. Video games are. So what is? Once more, gun owners are not to blame either. Just because you own a gun does not mean you are a bad person. You could own the gun because you want to protect yourself from someone else that does. And if you say, well, then just get rid of all guns, that doesn't make sense either. Because what if there's 3 or 4 people coming in to break into your house? You want a gun. The things if you can't necessarily blame anybody, then what can you do to fix it? And new laws being passed for mental checks, mental evaluations before buying a gun, is something that many people deem necessary. Just background checks in general should be more enforced. Right now, you can go to a gun club meeting and purchase a gun from a guy that has no idea who you are, that does not have your ID or a background check or anything. Another law that has been considered is that if your gun that you illegally obtained through whatever measures is used in a crime, such as a murder or something of that nature, you get fined. You don't get thrown in jail, but you get fined because your gun was stolen from you, and your gun should be in a safe. It should be protected. It should be in a place to where people can't get a hold of it. The Newtown shooting was done by a man who did not have the ability to purchase a gun himself, and he stole the weapons from his mom. The way to really go about fixing everything is not to take guns away from people. Taking guns away from people won't work. All it will do is cause more issues than it will inevitably cause. I'm aware of a few people, personally in my own life, that do say, and they probably would go and fight for their guns. And if approached, I guarantee there are many rednecks, hillbillies, minorities, just regular common people that if approached by a police officer that is saying, "Give us your guns," many people would say no. And what would go on from there? Would they be arrested? I mean, what comes from this? The Second Amendment to our Constitution states that you have the right to bear arms. It says some more stuff in there, but that is the main fact. You have the right to bear arms. You have the right to be able to protect yourself from other people that do. If you take away the rights, you limit them in any ways. If you say, well, you can't have an assault rifle, but you can have a handgun, you are limiting the Constitution. If that happens, what comes next? Well, only these religions should be allowed. Sure, we say all can, but only these can actually be practiced. The other ones aren't necessary. That assault rifle that holds 12 bullets, that's not necessary. Oh, we don't really think you should practice Islam. It's the same thing. Same thing with freedom of speech. Oh, we believe you can say this, this, and this, but that you're not allowed to say. When you start limiting one thing of the Constitution, when you start limiting one thing in the Bill of Rights and the amendments and the main part of the Constitution, the original Constitution, what comes next? What is to stop people from erasing everything that is in the Constitution? For my final thought, for this Final Thought Friday, gun control is an issue that will always be controversial. However, I believe that if a bad guy wants to get something, whether it be drugs, whether it be a fast car, or whether it be guns, such as a mini Uzi or something else, they will be able to find it. It just takes a matter of time. If you want something bad enough, you can have it by the end of the day. I just honestly believe that if a bad guy can be able to own a gun, then a good guy should be able to as well. The good guy should be able to purchase a gun and defend himself if the bad guy tries to get out of line. That is my final thought for this Final Thought Friday. Basically with this, improve, the restrictions on when you're getting a gun, background checks, mental health evaluations, whatever it is necessary. Enforce the laws that are already in place. But don't try to take people's guns away that have purchased them legally. Anyways, guys, my name is TheGameWarrior. Be sure you comment, rate, subscribe to my channel and to Molten Aid TV. But all I have to say is,
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.